Hey everyone. This has been a lot longer of a recording process than for my other assets up on the asset store, but what can you do, right? Running into a few problems recording and then uploading to YouTube. Found out my video was a little bit too long, so now I'm gonna chunk this up into a few smaller pieces and try to really thoroughly go through the asset. So first things first, I'm just gonna take us through a general overview of what it does and how it works, and then in future videos, I'll be going through more specifically different settings and what they do and how they affect each other, stuff like that. So in the Umbra Evolution folder, you have another general.cs file. This one just has a bunch of methods that convert vectors and quaternions and transforms into float arrays. And all that's for is when I'm serializing into a binary file, which I do for saving the mazes. Yes, you can save these. You don't have to just drag them into your prefabs folder. You can actually save the mazes with a real button. um, so when I'm doing that, I need to be able to have a float array as opposed to a vector or a quaternion, because when you're using XML files, they'll serialize just fine. But if I'm trying to serialize to binary format, they don't play nicely. And then in the Maze Magician folder, you have all the magic, your README file, the editor scripts, make things look pretty and a little more user-friendly. An example folder, it's the first one I've ever had. I usually don't like adding prefabs and materials and stuff to my example projects just because they make things a little bit bloated. I don't like to do that. But in this case, I felt like it was pretty valuable because it is a little more complicated. So you can just play with what I have in this folder here. And when you're done with it, you can delete it. Prefabs, this just has the maze generator prefab that we're gonna throw in here. Saved maze maps is just the default folder for any maze maps that you save. And then there's the generator script that does basically all the magic. The maze information script, which just holds information about a specific maze and then has the save functionality on it. And then some serializable classes just for logical data collections, logical data templates. Um, so if I go into my prefabs folder, I can grab a maze generator. And then with that maze generator, I know what these settings are because I've typed them in so many times now. um, I can specify some widths and lengths and for the maze, and then the dimensions of my wall and floor pieces. So all wall and floor pieces have to have the same width and height. Sorry, the width and length. They have to be square tiles. Just the rectangular tiles really didn't look good in the maze. If enough people want that feature back, I can split them up again. It just didn't look good, so I figured to make this as easy as possible, I'd just take it out. You have to know the height of your wall and then the thickness of your floor, which is basically the height, but it sounded weird to say floor height. Then you have this little button here, so you can see when you generate a maze what kind of area it's going to fill up. You can change the color and stuff as well. So you can add as many different wall pieces as you want if you want some variance in yours. I'm just going to showcase that with wall piece 1 and wall piece 2. And then the same thing with the floor pieces. Our new trackpad. And then, because I want to show everything off, let's just collapse these, get them out of the way. I'm going to add some details to the maze. I want to put torches in, which are really just cubes. Again, I have to know the dimensions. And then it automatically corrects anything I enter that would make the torches out of place because they have to be snapped to a specific wall. It's not going to let you have floating torches in the middle of nowhere. And then you can change the frequency. 0 is there are no torches. 1 is every wall gets a torch. So I'm going to set it up so roughly half of the walls will have torches. And then the other details are things that don't go on the walls. In this case, floating cubes. But you could have enemies or birds or whatever. Because unlike the wall pieces, they have a little more freedom. So you can't make them clip down below the floor. Yeah, it's using these dimension settings for that. But you can put them as high as you want. So you could set up some birds floating. But they are, during initial generation anyway, snapped to a specific tile. Again, just to stop them from clipping through walls and stuff. And from clipping into each other. And let's put them on roughly every fifth tile. Braid maze is just a maze that dead ends. This is all the dead ends. Makes it a lot harder for the user to find their way out, because if they run along the right wall, they'll just run in circles for the most part. Make a floor exit. You can drop an exit in the floor somewhere. It can be randomly placed in the center third of the maze, or placed in the outside of the maze. I'm going to put it in the outside. So I'm going to make a starting area. I'm going to make it 9 by 9. Again, you can't do anything that would wreck the maze or break the outer walls. But I'm just going to center this starting area, so we have a center plaza, and then let's just call it example. So when I name the maze, it's going to pop up over here. If I generate again, we're going to overwrite it. If I change the name, generate, we get a second maze. And saving mazes, you just click on the maze, save, and then it'll default to this folder. You can save it by load the maze. Right now, actually, we'll have two identical mazes, because you'll notice that this name is different here. So it's loaded it in with that name, and because it didn't find the name in the hierarchy, it just made a new maze. But they're the exact same maze. So I've just loaded that template, all the saved data that was generated and then used to instantiate all the objects for the maze. So that's all I'm going to do in this video. There's definitely a lot more to talk about, some specifics on how to set these things up, but I don't want to go over YouTube time here, so I'll see you in the next video. I'll go into a little more depth with the dimensions and setup of these objects and what you have to look out for.